right. There we go. Hi. Phew. Technical difficulties. Sorry about that. So we have come back to our house. So it is mass chaos and confusion. Sorry. So, okay. Hi. All right. So, let me get stuff out of the way. Hi, I'm Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon, Arizona Mountain Standard Time, which is 11 a.m. Pacific for 2 p.m. Eastern. Hello, Flying Penguin, how are you? I'm a little frazzled here. There is that, and then I will upload it to Facebook, all that sort of good stuff. Views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. Hey guys. I know, massive echo. I'm really sorry. We're back in the house and we don't have any carpets or anything down because it's just because we're remodeling. So massive echo. I'm really sorry. Where was I? The views and opinions stated herein are mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. I would like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. John will put it down in the description. They're an online therapy company. They hook you up with American therapists here. So if you're in the UK or India or any other country and you don't like the counselors there and you want to get somebody over here, go to BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. And they will hook you up with an American counselor over here. You guys will have to figure out the time change on your own. I haven't heard enough time with time change. Time change just happened this weekend. I'm like, what time is it anywhere? I don't know. Anyway, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. And if you're in the United States and you don't like the counselor in your state, they'll hook you up with a master's level or a PhD level. So there. Okay, I want to remind you of the books that will be. God, let me just throw things around helpful. So Susanna Quintana, You're Still That Girl at SusannaQuintana.com. You can get her book there. She's amazing. I will love her. There's also Shahida Arabi's The Highly Sensitive Person's Guide to Dealing with Toxic People. She is awesome. Love her. And then, of course, you've got my books. You Can Lead a Horse to Water, but you can't make him cha-cha. And What's Wrong with Your Dad, available on Amazon and Kindle and Audible. So I was supposed to be doing the Audible for my new book, So You Want to Be a Therapist, but unfortunately, Rafi, who was doing my Audible stuff, had a family emergency. So we'll be doing that next weekend. So also Splitting. If you're going through a divorce with somebody who has personality disorders, Splitting by Randy Krieger and Bill Eddy. You're going to need it because it's gonna disabuse you of all of the excuse making, and it's heartbreaking, but it needs to be done. So normal. So we're going to talk about what is normal. So normal is on a continuum. There is no set normal. I mean, there's averages. There's what most people do, that kind of thing. So basically, when people come out of an abusive relationship, really, really abusive relationship, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's romantic, whether it's a boss, whatever, they usually come and sit on my couch and then go, oh my God, I'm crazy. Oh my God, I feel crazy. Oh my God, what is normal? I don't even know what normal is. And it's very true. Oh, hello, Spain. It's very true. When we come out of that relationship, our minds have been so gaslit, so brainwashed, so just, it's like they stick an egg beater in our head and just go, and we come out of it going, up is down, left is right, green is blue. I don't even know. And so we don't know, or we don't realize what normal is. Or when we do come across normal, we freak out because we are not used to it. We're also not used to being validated. We're not used to, being told, hey, yeah, you're not crazy. Hey, yeah, this is completely normal for this insanely abnormal situation. So what ends up happening is people sit on my couch and they go, I'm crazy. And the first thing I tell them is, no, you're not. And they're looking at me like I'm crazy because they think they're crazy. And I go, listen to me. Crazy people, really crazy people, don't usually go get help. So think about it. Narcissists don't go get help. A lot of borderlines don't go get help, especially when they're down on the more damaging end of the spectrum and they have reached that point where they enjoy harming people and manipulating and controlling. They usually don't go get help. Narcissists usually don't go get help. The only time narcissists ever do go get help is if they're court mandated or their partner forces them to, and they'll go to couples counseling once, maybe twice, or individual once, maybe twice, and then as soon as the counselor goes, and what is your part in this? They go, screw that counselor, they don't know what they're talking about, they're incompetent, they're dangerous, they're this, they're that, blah, 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 and then we stop counseling. So, healthy people go get help. Healthy people recognize when there is a problem. So there is the old joke, how many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? Well, one, but the light bulb really needs to want to change, there's that joke. But then the other half of that joke is you have to have a clinician that understands if the light bulb needs changing or not. Because a lot of times people come to me and they think they're the problem. And I'm like, no, your light bulb does not need changing. What needs changing is your boundaries and your deal breakers and your self-esteem, but you're not broken, okay? What the abuser does is they make us feel broken. They make us feel like we are damaged goods. I think that's the best way to put it. I can't tell you, guys, and here's the other thing, and I'm really glad that one of my readers posted this. They're like, I'm so tired of all the memes regarding abuse, always saying, oh, it's the men, it's the men, it's the men. It's not, guys. Females are just as damaging as males. Female narcissists are just as damaging, and men can be borderline. So please don't think that, oh, narcissism is men and borderline is women. No, abusers can be any sex. Doesn't matter. So basically what it is we are not damaged goods, but our abuser, whether that's a family member, whether that's a boss, how many of you guys have had these really abusive bosses that like to make it sound or feel like you're the problem, you're the problem, you're the problem. In fact, they are the ones that are blowing up morale, pitting people against each other, stealing other people's ideas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really important when you come out of an abusive relationship. Normal is on a spectrum, and you have been through an exceedingly abnormal set of circumstances. So your responses to that, even though it feels crazy, are 100% expected, okay? So in other words, when you're coming out of an abusive relationship, you cannot expect to just be okay, because you're not going to be. You're going to have intrusive thoughts. You're going to have self-doubt. You're going to have that longing to get back to that love bind. You're going to have all those oxytocins going into overdrive, wanting you to reconnect with your abuser. And you're going to be sitting there going, oh my God, this is crazy. They were abusing me. Why do I want to get back with them? Well, that's why. And I've talked about that in previous videos. So basically what it is that normal is on a spectrum. And normal to us feels abnormal because we've been in the crazy for so long, and we start thinking it's us, and it's not. So when people sit on my couch, generally one of the first questions they say, or one of the first things they say is, what I'm about to tell you, you're going to think I'm absolutely crazy, and I'm terrified you're going to have me committed. Okay, the only time I would ever do a crisis call is if somebody was danger to self or danger to others, okay? Number one, let's just get that right out of the way. Number two, no, I'm not gonna think you're crazy. Trust me, I have literally seen, heard, and been through it all, like all of it. So you're not crazy, and I think that is something that we need to validate. We're not damaged goods. We're not crazy. We're not the problem. That's the other thing. Today's just going to kind of be a flow of consciousness. I just want you to know that. That's the other thing that makes me so angry is these abusive parents who identify the scapegoat, the kid, and then just hammer into them, hammer into them that they are the problem. You're the problem. You guys, right? So that's not normal. So let's talk about a little bit about normal, not normal, okay? So healthy parents, or let's put it in the terms of healthy. Healthy parents do not pick favorites. Healthy parents do not pick a scapegoat. They don't have a child that is the identified patient. So the identified patient is when the family gets together and goes, they are the problem. They are the problem. And they're, oh my God, I cannot tell you the number of times I've had clients tell me that they were committed, that they were, in mental health facilities simply because they stood up to their parent and said no. And so the parent didn't like that and had them committed. And I'm just like, okay. And of course they lied. They said, oh, they were a danger to themselves and they were threatening to kill us and they weren't. So yeah, it's really, yeah. All right. So basically what it is, normal is on a spectrum. So what can we define as normal? Normal is behavior that is not harming you and is not harming someone else. Quirkiness is perfectly okay. A little neurotic, okay. As long as you're not suffering and as long as no one else is suffering, then it is okay. That's normal. But really, normal is on a spectrum. What is normal for you? But you have to remember, abusers will take that concept of normal and turn it on its head. It's literally like Alice in Wonderland. And so they will tell us that what they are doing is normal. Oh no, this is normal. Every family does this. How many times have we heard that? Oh no, this is normal. All of every family has these issues. No, they don't. They really, truly do not. So it's you've got to be aware that you've been lied to, you've been gaslit, you've been manipulated, you've been controlled. And so when we come out of it, we have to redefine for ourselves what is normal. So, okay, so let's talk about that. So we come out of one of these relationships, whether it's romantic or it's a family situation or, friendship or whatever. You really have to take a look at all of the mistaken thoughts and mistaken beliefs that got shoved into your head. You're going to have to question everything that you were told. Question everything. That used to be the hippie slogan. Question everything. So question authority, So in our case, if we were raised by somebody who was personality disorder, we're going to have to question everything that they told us. So, for example, my father was insanely misogynistic. He hated women, hated them. Yet he kept saying, oh, I love women, I love women, I love women. Well, he loved them sexually, but he didn't love them intellectually. He didn't love them for who they were. He didn't love them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So he would tell us basically, oh, well, you can, you've got to excel in this, that, and the other thing. But then the other message we got was, you better marry a spouse that's smarter than you, that will take care of you, because you're not smart enough to do that. And I'm just sitting here going, no, thank you. I own all my own stuff. Thank you. I run my own business. So yeah, they give us this weird idea of what normal is. And so we have to literally start challenging everything we heard, everything we saw. How much of what we saw was abnormal? So let's talk a little bit about abnormal and normal. Okay, so this is called Am I Normal? And this is on Psychology Today. It's by Holly Parker. She's a PhD. If I tell you this, you're going to think I'm a nut job. If I had $1 for every time I heard something like that, I'd have a majestic mansion. Well, I don't know Victorian. But yeah, so she obviously, this is common for us as therapists, having people go, oh my God, I'm crazy. So normal, conforming to the standard or the common type, usual, not abnormal, regular, natural. Serving to establish a standard, approximately average in any psychological trait, as in intelligence, personality, emotional adjustment, free from any mental disorder, sane. So really, when somebody sits down and says, am I normal? What they're asking me is, am I crazy? And the answer is no, you're not. You're not crazy. You're not damaged goods. And honestly, when those thoughts pop up in your head, I really want you to challenge them. I really want you to put them down like the rabid dog that they are. Seriously, because that stuff has come from the abuser. It has not come from who you are, okay? So abnormal, let's talk about abnormal for just a second. Abnormal is a branch of psychology that deals with psychopathology and abnormal behavior in a clinical context. It covers disorders from obsessive compulsive to personality disorders. So I think it's interesting that they specifically mentioned personality disorders. Abnormal psychology focuses on the patterns of emotion, thought, behavior that can be signs of a mental health condition, rather than the distinction between normal and abnormal. Psychologists in this field focus on the levels of distress that behaviors, thoughts, or emotions might cause in the person or people around them, which is basically what I was saying. Okay, let's see. So it's the behavior. And if you have a behavior that you're finding is limiting you, so often coming out of abusive relationships, one of the things that people tell me all the time is they don't trust anybody. They don't trust me, they don't trust family, they don't trust friends, they don't trust anybody. And that's with good cause, because they've learned over days, weeks, months, years with an abuser that you cannot trust them. And really, it's like, you're not crazy for feeling that way. You're also not crazy for not wanting to date immediately. In fact, I encourage you not to date immediately. So all of these things that people come out of that abusive relationship with are in fact to be expected. So if you go look up on Psychology Today or any really psychology, journal, and you look up trauma responses, everything that's in the trauma response is everything that people think that they're crazy for. So you're not crazy. You've been traumatized. You've been lied to. You've been manipulated. You've been gaslit. You've been harmed. Their behavior is abnormal. Their behavior is psychotic. Their behavior is not what most people do. Thank God. So you need to make a list of everything you think is not normal about you, and then you need to start challenging it with critical thinking. Critical thinking. Are you harming other people? No. Okay. Are you harming yourself? Well, I might be with this. So, for example, people that come out of abusive relationships have a really hard time socializing. They have a hard time. They've got a lot of anxiety, social anxiety, because they were either made fun of, put down, harmed, belittled, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it got to the point where they just did not want to go out because they knew their family was going to drag them through the mud, or their abuser was going to drag them through the mud, or whatever. So you got to start, where did this come from? Where did this come from? And you put it back on the abuser. So Pete Walker, CPTSD from Surviving and Thriving by Pete Walker, Chapter 3. Start putting all of this stuff that you think is abnormal about you back onto the abuser. Use some critical thinking. Did you do anything to deserve this? Hell no. Hell no. And the abuser tells us, though, oh, well, you deserve this. And oh, well, I had to. And oh, well, you made me. Do you see the you guns in those statements? That's crazy. That's crazy. Anybody who harms someone else, that's abnormal. Anyone who intentionally lies, gaslights, cheats, steals, fear, obligation, guilt, all of that is abnormal. Healthy people do not seek to destroy other people on a daily basis, because that's what these people do. And remember, when they're accusing you, doing all of the projection and making you feel like you're crazy, or making you feel like you're wrong, or making you feel like, no, your perception is bizarre, blah, 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 they're projecting. They are projecting all of their stuff, trying to convince you that you're the problem, because they know deep down inside at some point they are the problem. And they want to not be abnormal. They want to be normal, and the reality of it is they're not, and they never will be. And they won't, because they won't ever work on themselves. Healthy people work on themselves. Healthy people go, this is not working. This light bulb needs changing. This particular light bulb needs changing in my life. I need to do something different, and then you go and you get help and you start working on it. Abusers never do that. In fact, abusers hate psychology, hate psychologists, hate counselors, hate therapists, because their thing is, oh, well, it's a scam, it's this, it's that. No, it's because we see you for the POS that you are. That's why they don't like it. So, all right. Normal really depends on perception. Perception is everything. Now, of course, to the abuser, they're going to try to normalize the abuse. But for us, we have to take that normalization and go, no, this over here is not normal. How I want to live is normal, which is being treated with respect, having a list of deal breakers, having your boundaries, having self-esteem, having family and friends around that are healthy. So isolation is not normal. Isolation is not normal. We are pack animals. We are total pack animals. We need each other. We do. So when an abuser comes in, what's the first thing they do? If they cannot manipulate the family and friends, and if the family and friends see them for the POS that they are, then they start isolating. Oh, I don't want you. Jealousy. That's not normal. Jealousy. I don't want you to be with your friends. You're too friendly with your friends. What? I'm sorry. That's what friends are. Because they start putting what they would do, which is to sleep with all of the family and friends. That's what they would do. So they start conflating their friends with the opposite sex, or even the same sex. They'll be jealous of the same sex. They'll be jealous of the opposite sex. They'll be jealous of your dog. They'll be jealous of your cat. They'll be jealous of your bird. They will be jealous of anything and everything. Your boss. If you're spending a lot of time at work, they'll start accusing you of having an affair at work. That is not normal. Jealousy is not normal. Okay, let's begin in this whole realm of things. So I was reading on the internet about a domestic violence situation that happened in Barbados, because I subscribe to news from different countries because it just interests me. And so the guy went before the judge, and it was your classic borderline narcissist combination, horrible. They're just feeding off of each other, both a huge amount of jealousy, both drama, both all of this stuff. And they were talking about all the things they were doing to make sure the other one wasn't cheating, which was including and not limited to making each other pull down their pants and smelling their private parts to see if it smelled like sex. And that's what abusers do. That's not normal. That is not normal. So we come out of those relationships with this skewed view, thinking that jealousy means that they love us. No. Jealousy does not mean that they love us. It means that they are crazy, and they are possessive, and they are insecure, and they want to manipulate and control. That's what jealousy means. Jealousy does not equate to love. Love and jealousy, two totally different things, and two totally different ends of the spectrum here. So jealousy is not about love. Jealousy is about manipulation and control. Jealousy is about fear. Jealousy is about anger. That is not love. That is not love. So, but they tell us, oh, I do this because I love you. And that's exactly in the article, the guy was saying, oh, well, but I allow her to do this because I love her, or she does this to me because I love her, or I do this to her because I love her. And I'm like, you seriously need to really look at the definition of love. Love is respect. That's what love is. If you don't love somebody, you don't respect them. If you don't respect them, you don't love them. Love is a form of respect. So you love them, you trust them. Okay, so when we come out of one of those relationships, holy cow, we have no trust. We don't have any reason to trust because we've been so harmed by this abnormal person. Does that make sense? So, okay, getting back to this. So we feel we're crazy. We're not. We're not. Look up trauma responses. Look up CPTSD. Look up PTSD. Look up the responses. I talked about this in a couple of videos a few weeks ago. Those are all normal responses to a crazy, abnormal situation. Not trusting ourselves. Because why? Because we see the pink elephant taking a doo-doo in the corner of the living room, and we get told by the abuser, whether that's family or romantic partner or whatever, that we don't see the pink elephant. And pretty soon we start going, oh, maybe I'm mistaken. There's no pink elephant there. Yeah, there is. And the doo-doo is getting higher and higher and higher. But we get hurt, harmed, punished when we see it. So when we come out of this relationship, we've lost the connection with our gut and trusting, and we've learned not to trust ourselves. And that is where we get into trouble. So normal is trusting yourself. Normal is listening to that gut instinct. That's normal. That's how people stay healthy and safe, is by listening to that gut instinct. Is this a safe situation, yes or no? And the gut will say either yes or no. The head and the heart will tell stories. The gut will go yes or no to this situation. And they get angry as all hell when we can see the dysfunction. Because they, in their little magic thinking, they're the God, they're perfect, nothing is wrong. Why do you need therapy? You don't need therapy. This family is normal. This happens in every family. No, beg to differ. Don't think so. So yeah, it's learning to trust your gut is normal. Feeling all of the trauma responses coming out of this is normal. Working on yourself is normal. Feeling afraid of emotions is normal when we first come out of an abusive relationship. Because remember, these people, these abusers over here, they are the ones that go, don't you dare feel. I'll give you something to cry about. I'll give you something to be angry about. I'll give you something to fill in the blank. And so they use emotions as a way to harm. And so when we come out, the only emotion that we can express is overly happy, overly up, overly perky, overly whatever, in order to try to keep the abuser happy, calm, relatively sane, etc. That's not normal. Healthy, normal people have the plethora of emotions. We do. Some days we're going to be happy, some days we're going to be sad, some days we're going to be angry, some moments. It's not even a day, it could be moment to moment, So, but abusers are the ones that tell people, like, for example, when I was working at the, we're starting to run out of time, I will get to the questions. When I was working at the New Song Center and the other one up in Oregon, and I can't think of it. Anyway, it's a children's grief clinic. I can't tell you the number of times that bosses that were narcissists or spouses that were narcissists would tell the surviving parent that had lost a child to cancer, accident, or whatever, you can't grieve. You've got to be up. You can't grieve. And I'm sitting there going, oh no, sweetie, you grieve because you need to, because that's a normal response to losing a child to death, to cancer, to an accident. But the abuser would be like, I give you 2 weeks and then you got to get over it. No, that's not how humans work. Sorry. It's a year minimum of heavy, intense grieving, and then another 2 to find a new normal for you. But abusers don't allow people to have emotions at all. Not angry, not sad, and even sometimes not happy. So sometimes we come out of these relationships and we're numb. We don't even know what we're feeling. So in those cases, I would start suggesting playing with your emotions. Get an emotion chart. Pick an emotion. Watch a movie. Allow yourself to have emotions with movie. If you don't feel safe doing it in front of other people, maybe by yourself watching a movie. That's a good way to do it. So for me, I was never allowed to cry because my dad did the whole, you're a Marine, Marines don't cry. And it took me until I was 16 to figure out I hadn't enlisted. It's just like, what? So that's not normal. Crying is normal. Crying is cathartic. Crying is how we get our emotions. Every single mammal on the face of the planet tears up when they feel pain. It's true. So crying is healthy and normal, but because these jackwagons cannot feel and do not process emotions the way a healthy person does, it scares the hell out of them and they get angry because they can't feel and they don't want somebody to have something that they can't have. So they get angry. And that's when they do that, I'll give you something to cry about, I'll give you something to get mad about, I'll give you, fill in the blank. So what I used to do is I used to find the saddest music I could, and I would go hide in my room, and I would turn it on, and I would just start crying, because that was the only safe place to do it, was alone in my room. And you know what? If he heard the music coming on, he'd come in and he'd start. And I very quickly learned to not do it when he was even anywhere possibly in the house. So do that with the emotions. Start practicing with the emotions. It's okay to have emotions. In fact, it's normal. It's healthy. Emotions are there for a reason. They let us know what is going on. Remember, anger is the bodyguard of the softer emotions. So when we get angry, that's your cue. How did I get hurt? Where's the fear? Where's the fear of getting hurt? So that's healthy. But when somebody tells you you can't be angry and you can't be sad, okay, now you don't know how to help yourself and you don't know how to protect yourself. And that is 100% intentional on their part, because they don't like healthy, they don't like normal, they don't like anything that will help us recognize them for the POS that they are. So that's why they sabotage. That's why they prevent family members from getting counseling. That's why they don't go to counseling themselves. That's why, or if they do, they look for a counselor they can easily manipulate. So this is why normal. This is why we feel crazy when we come out of these abusive relationships. And the biggest thing is, if you've left the relationship, congratulations. That is you expressing yourself being healthy. That is you on your way to healthiness or normalcy, whatever that is, you know? So normal, again, is you're not hurting yourself, you're not hurting other people, and you're doing things that are good for you. That's normal. You're having emotions. That's normal. You validate yourself. Yeah, I'm not crazy. Yeah, I did go through this. Yeah, this really did happen. Yeah, I am a good person. You know, you work on self-esteem. You have self-esteem. You start working on liking you, and then you work on loving you. And it gets to the point where you don't even have to think about it. You just do it. But in the beginning, it is like any new skill. We have to learn how to. And that too is normal. So normalcy is on a spectrum, you know? And for us, there's a whole bunch of behaviors that are normal to have, having been traumatized. And there's a whole bunch of fears that are normal to have, having been traumatized. And then working on ourselves, you know, thought stopping, mirror work, self-esteem, boundaries, all of that stuff, struggling with some of that stuff, that's all normal having come out of an abusive relationship. Emotions are normal. I invite you to practice them. I invite you to have them. And I invite you to tell whoever tells you to stop having them that they can go stuff it. Seriously. It's like, okay, good, thanks for your input. Never have this person in my life again. When somebody shows you who they are, if they, okay, here's the thing. Healthy, normal people do not side with an abuser. This just happened to Will Wheaton this week, and it really made me angry. So he's been posting a lot of his blogs about how he's been dealing with the abuse from his parents who were abusive to him. So, and I've been reposting them to We Need to Talk on Facebook. Well, somebody attacked him and was like, how dare you not have contact with your parents? And I so badly wanted to jump in, I didn't. But what I want to say to that is, if someone is demanding that you have contact with an abuser, whether that is a parent or a romantic relationship or a friendship, boss, whatever. If they're demanding that you have contact with somebody that you have explained clearly and eloquently, because he did, why he was no contact, and they're demanding that you have contact with them, that's a troll. You are dealing with somebody who is narcissistic themselves. You are, because if you've already said, look, this person has been abusive, I want nothing to do with them, I'm not going to feed the bear. I'm not going to feed them, sorry. And they're like, oh, you have to. No, I don't. No, I don't. So again, if you were not related to these people, would you have anything to do with them? So again, let's talk about normalcy. If these were total strangers and they were abusing you, would you put up with that? And I'm suspecting that the answer to that is going to be mostly no. So if somebody is abusive and you've decided to go no contact and some jackwagon troll comes up and goes, oh, well, you have to. They've just shown you who they are. The best thing to do with those trolls is to just delete them. Delete them. You cannot educate them. And I think Will Wheaton was trying to educate them. And I used to do that in the very, very beginning when I first started doing this, because I thought, okay, well, maybe they just don't know. No, they know. They're trolls. They're trolls. And they want to cause as many problems as possible. So it makes me very angry when I see that. So if somebody is demanding that you have contact with your parent, your boss, your romantic partner, or whoever that you've gone no contact with, those people have just shown you who they are. Get rid of them. And half the time they want you to have contact so they can continue this lovely drama that they're watching over here, and you will continue to be the scapegoat. Because as soon as you peace out, somebody else will have to be the scapegoat. That's the way it goes. So in these families, I know, I swear, I'll shut up and we'll get to the questions. In these families, though, when the scapegoat goes, I've had enough, bye, peace out, the rest of the family freaks out and tries to force them back into that role, because they know once the scapegoat is gone, somebody else is going to be it. Tag, you're it, and nobody wants to be it. So there that is. I just had to put that in because, I really have a lot of respect for Will Wheaton, and I really appreciate him posting these vlogs because, again, the reason people ask, am I normal? Am I crazy? Is because they don't realize how many of us have been abused, or how many kids have had abusive parents, or a romantic partner that was abusive, or a family member that was abusive, or a friend that was abusive. So it helps to let people know, yes, I have been through this, because then it lets the other people out there who haven't done all of the research yet, oh my God, I'm not alone. Oh my God, I'm not crazy. Oh my God, this has happened to you too. Holy crap, I thought I was the only one. I can't tell you the number of times I hear that. So no, you're not the only one. This has happened to a lot of people, and you're not crazy. Everything you're feeling is expected, given the level of abuse you went through. All of the trouble with the self-esteem and the boundaries and the everything else, totally expected. Now, what you gotta do is find your normal. That means working on you. That means working on self-esteem, mirror work, boundary, deal breakers, etc., Going to get to a good trauma therapist. Reading the books I recommend: CPTSD, From Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker, Disease to Please by Harriet Breaker, Codependent No More, Beyond Codependent No More by Melanie Beattie, the Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Shiraldi, or You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. And I have all of these posted pinned to the top of my page on Facebook. So start working on you. You find your own normal. So normal is on a spectrum. As long as you're not hurting yourself or hurt somebody else, then it's okay. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think it's confronting all of the mistaken thoughts and mistaken beliefs that got shoved into your space and challenging them, putting them back onto the abuser. That's what's going to really help you find your new normal. So anyway, hope that was helpful. All right, let's get to the questions. Dun, dun, dun. Oh my goodness. All right, my narc mother wished me often dead. Oh God. I even tried to when I was a baby, and she died years ago. I didn't feel I lost anyone, but I feel like a stranger died. Is it common to feel this? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So not every death is a boo-hoo-hoo. It isn't. So when my dad died, my mom and I were just relieved. Like seriously, relieved. That was the predominant emotion. I felt sad for my siblings because I knew the trauma that they went through because I went through it. And you're not always going to feel sad or a loss when an abuser dies, especially if they've been trying to kill you since day one. So yeah, it's totally normal. That is to be expected. Absolutely, you're not crazy. And I think that's the big thing. You're not crazy. This is a normal reaction to somebody dying. It's like a stranger dying. It's like, okay, they're going by, that kind of thing. So especially with parents, it's often a very bizarre kind of grieving process. It's not the typical, okay, they die and we're grieving and we're sad and this. It's like, okay, it's complicated grief, just like, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. We got complicated grief. So there's going to be anger, there's going to be sadness, there's going to be numbness, there's going to be nothing, there's going to be, and it's just kind of like, okay, that was weird, yes, if feeling nothing is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, if you're repressing stuff and you feel like there's stuff that you haven't expressed, then okay, that's something you definitely need to work out. But like when my dad died, I didn't feel sad for him. In fact, I felt happy that he was gone. And I felt relieved because now my mom didn't have to deal with him, and my brother and sisters did not have to deal with him, and I didn't have to deal with him. And yeah, it was a sense of relief. That was the predominant emotion. I felt the saddest for my brother, and I felt the saddest for my sisters because, it was game over. None of us will ever get his approval. Not that we ever would have anyway. But death was kind of like, pun intended, final nail in the coffin. It was like, okay, it's over. game over. There's no chance of getting approval from this guy. But then the reality of it is we never would have anyway. But that little kid inside, that inner child workbook, Catherine Taylor, that little kid inside wanted the approval. So yeah, it's totally normal to just kind of feel like they're a stranger. Yeah, it's common. It is common. It absolutely is. Don't make yourself wrong for it. The only time it would be a problem is if it's a distress to you. And if it's a distress to you, give it a good therapist and start processing and see if there's anything else there. So yeah. Okay. After so long being abused, by my narc mom through childhood, I feel alienated. Why is this and how do I deal with it? Oh my God, that is a great question. Okay, so when we come out of an abusive relationship, especially with family or parents, we feel like outsiders. All of us feel like outsiders. It's the weirdest thing. So, and it's because, oh Lord, okay, well, it's because of the abuse, and so we feel shameful about that, and so we feel like, oh my God, nobody else is going through this, or oh, my family is this pillar of the community, and I'm the weirdo, So we have kind of those thoughts, or we just feel apart. Because we know that what we're going through is not what, Susie and Kevin and other people in school are going through because they have healthy families, or relatively healthy families. So yeah, we do tend to feel isolated. We feel apart. We feel like outsiders. So we feel alienated. And when we leave the abusive situation, absolutely, the flying monkeys, if they're siding with the abuser, we are going to be alienated from a lot of that family, which is fine, because if they're siding with the abuser, again, like I said, those people are abusers themselves and you don't need to have them in your life. But that is a totally normal feeling of feeling isolated or feeling apart from or feeling like an outsider. So really what that is journal. Journal, and you're going to have to reassure and comfort that inner child and say, hey, kiddo, you're human. You have got a whole world of people. You do. And mom and dad were crazy. Mom and dad were abusive, if that was the situation. And yeah, what they were doing was not normal, but you don't need to stay isolated. So what would happen, or what happens in a lot of these families, is they lie to the kids, and they're like, you don't need anybody else. You just need this family. So, we try to make friends, they interfere, or we make friends and they don't want us telling anything, or they don't, they try to make us keep secrets or all sorts of stuff. So really it's get with a good therapist, get with a good trauma therapist. And because I felt the same thing. I really, and sometimes I still do. Sometimes I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, I'm an outsider. Okay, And I think it's also because we've been through things that other people have not and may not understand. So that kind of makes us feel like an outsider. But honestly, it's like all of the experiences that I have had have helped me become a better therapist and helped me become a better human. So I want you to start reframing and shifting what you're thinking about that. And when you feel like you're an outsider, journal. Where's this coming from? Why am I feeling this? What's going on? Is it shame? Is it fear? Is it, the messages mom and dad gave me? What's going on? What's happening? How come I feel like an outsider? Totally normal. A lot of us have that. Absolutely. So dealing with it would be journaling, get with a good therapist, figure out where it came from. So probably working the Inner Child Workbook by Catherine Taylor would be probably a really good place to start. When did you first start feeling separate from? When did you first start feeling like an outsider? When did that first start? How old were you? What was going on? What were the messages that you were getting? What were the circumstances? What was happening? So that's what I would recommend. And get with a good therapist. Okay. Okay, as a therapist, I'm sure you pick up on a lot of negative energies and emotions from clients. Does it ever weigh you down? How do you cleanse yourself emotionally? Well, so boundaries. I know, it's crazy. Boundaries, knowing what is mine and what is the client's. So I've written a whole book about this. It's called So You Want to Be a Therapist, and it will be coming out come hell or high water hopefully the end of this year. Like I said, Rafi, my guy that was supposed to be doing the Audible with me, he had a family emergency, so we're not going to be able to start recording that until next week. But hopefully, end of this year, that's the evil plan. So you have to have boundaries, and you have to know what is their stuff and what is your stuff. And so when clients come in, yeah, they've got some really hard to hear stories. I think the only time I ever had a really hard time with it was when there was a case of child abuse. And I saw the pictures, and that tortured me for months. That was horrible. Because nothing you could do, all you could do is call Child Protective Services and file reports and hope to God they were going to do the right thing. And that was terrifying. And I, to this day, don't know what happened to that kid. But yeah, that's the only time that's ever weighed on me in any way, shape, or form. Other than that, with boundaries, with good boundaries, knowing where I begin and end and where the client begins and ends, it's kind of like, okay, this is your stuff, and I will give you the tools to deal with it. It is not my job to deal with it for you. It is my job to teach you how to deal with it. Because a lot of times disordered people will come in and be like, I started therapy and now I feel awful and it's all your fault. And I'll be like, well, in a way, yes, because when we stir things up, we're going to start feeling. And so when we work on things, things are going to pop up. So this is actually a very good sign that you're starting to process things, and some things are popping up that are disturbing you. And I tell them that before we even start therapy. It's like, look, this is going to bring up a lot of stuff. So just knowing, where you end and where they begin, and not accepting stuff that's not yours, which is why you cannot be codependent and be a therapist. So you got to work on that codependency. And you can have had codependency in the past, but if you've worked on it, then you're good to go. So yeah, and compartmentalizing too. So in the past, when I had an actual office, because I just do everything video now, but when I had an actual office, I would kind of go through a ritual of, okay, day is over, okay, I'm done, wiping myself off, and everything stays here in this office. So now what I do, I have my home office, or I will have my home office once I get my house back together, because my baseboards are still sitting off the coast of California. Don't get me started. So with my home office, I kind of do the same thing. It's like, okay, I'm leaving everything here, and now I'm going into the other room to be with my dog and my husband. And you just kind of got to be like, nope. And strong boundaries, super strong boundaries with the clients as well, because there are clients that will want to call you 24/7, and you can't. You're not a crisis line, you're a therapist. So you make it very clear, I work Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. If you have an emergency, I have the crisis line on my phone. And sometimes I'll take crisis calls, obviously, but you got to be careful, because there are clients out there that will want you to be available to them all the time. And you simply can't, because you cannot pour from an empty pot. And so on the weekends is when I fill myself back up, and then Monday through Friday, I'm good to go. So there it is. Hope that answered your question. Oh, and I also burn sage, because I'm one of those, California hippie. So yeah, once a month I burn sage in the office, and Palo Santo, and I have my crystals, and hippie dippy stuff. So yeah, I do that too. And that's actually in the book. So I've got some interesting stories about that. Okay, after being isolated and controlled by my narcissistic family for most of my life, I find I have no social life or friends. How can I change that? That is so common. Oh my God. Again, that kind of goes with feeling like an outsider. So when yes, I know it's echoey in here. I'm really sorry. It's because the house is being remodeled and we literally have no furniture in here, or carpets, or wall hangings, or anything. It will be done hopefully by Christmas. What was I saying? Oh, so not having any friends is similar to feeling isolated or outsider. So when we come from an abusive family, like I said, their whole goal is to isolate us, so that we don't have friends, so that we don't know how to socialize, so that we don't, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the best way to start making friends is to start figuring out, what do you like? This is a fun homework assignment. This is the one I love to give. What do you like? What makes you happy? What fun things do you enjoy doing that maybe other people enjoy doing that you could maybe go do with other people? So for example, there's, hiking. I love to hike. So I go work out also. And so we have friends that work out with us. And so we'll go off and go hiking with them on the weekends. That's fun for us. So that's how we start making friends that way. And other things. So what do you like to do? Do you like book clubs? Do you like, I don't know, miniature golf? So there's all sorts of groups, meetup groups that you can get into, chess groups, hiking groups, book groups, writers groups. And there's, something else that I love is the Parks and Rec department, at least before COVID, I'm hoping they're getting back to it, used to have all sorts of classes. So they would have self-defense classes, they would have horseback riding classes, they would have belly dance classes, they would have, they would have all sorts of cool things you could go take classes and you meet people that way. Now, is it gonna be awkward? Yeah. And that social anxiety is definitely gonna pop up, and all of those voices about, oh, you can't socialize, you can't do this, you can't, how dare you, blah, blah, blah. Thank you for your input, shut the bleep up, go play in traffic. You know what I'm saying? So you're gonna have to confront all of that stuff that pops up. And it's totally normal. We do come out of those relationships not knowing who we are, not knowing what we like. And so the fun homework assignment before you start socializing is to figure out, what do you enjoy? Is it horseback riding? Is it dogs? Is it, I don't know, chess? Is it hiking? Is it writing? Is it books? Is it a book club? Is it, what do you like? What do you enjoy? And then go do that. And then try it. And is it going to be painful at first? Yeah. Awkward. Yeah, it is. It just is. Until we start doing it enough that we become comfortable and we recognize that all the stuff that mom and dad told us was not true and that people actually like us. Oh my God. It's like Sally Fields. You like me, you actually like me. So yeah, it's true because we've been told that we were not likable. The thing I got from my dad is, you're a brat, you're stupid, and what was this other thing he used to love to tell me? Oh, I was spoiled. What else? All of that stuff. And you have to confront those mistaken thoughts and those mistaken beliefs and put them down like a rabid dog, basically. Because they're not yours, they're theirs. So figure out, what are the thoughts that they gave you that are not true? What are the things that they told you about you that are not true? And then confront them, challenge them, and then go do something fun. Go do something social. Go meet other people. Now, have your list of deal breakers available because, again, 35 to 40% of the population is disordered. And you want to make sure your boundaries are in place. And yeah, you're probably going to come across disordered people, but that doesn't mean you have to invite them in. As soon as you recognize they're disordered, you just don't have anything to do with them. You can say no. No is your friend. So practice that as well. So I hope that answered the question. Okay, can this type of content can be part of middle high school curriculum during important times in our development? How might we go about talking about it without adolescents? Well, okay, romantic abuse generally starts in high school, middle school, high school, around in there. How do you go about getting a curriculum? I don't know. I mean, I find that the schools are reticent in even talking about things like birth control, let alone or sex, let alone how to avoid an abusive relationship. I wish they would teach it in school, and honestly, it's kind of up to us as, either parents or aunts, uncles, cousins, whatever, to educate as many kids as we possibly can about it. I don't know how you would go about getting it into the curriculum. I mean, honestly, because they would consider this a high conflict or high conflict content or controversial content. And why? Well, if 35 to 40% of the population is narcissistic, then how many parents out there are narcissistic? I don't know, maybe 35 to 40%. So, it's going to be a problem. So I don't know how you would go about doing that. I do recommend you share my video to as many people as possible, seriously, because the more people who understand about this kind of stuff, the better off they're going to be. Yeah, I don't know how you would get that into a curriculum. I do think that they should be teaching about abuse in schools. I do, because that is where the majority of the romantic abuse stuff starts, is in middle school and high school. And if you've got a family that's abusive, then an abusive boyfriend or girlfriend seems quote unquote normal, since we've been discussing normal. So it'll be familiar. So remember, normal for us may not be normal, but it is familiar. And you've got to be careful of that. If something feels really familiar and reminds you of your abusive family, red alert, shields up, what the heck, step away. So yeah, I really do think this needs to be taught to kids, but I don't know how you would get it through the school boards and stuff. Maybe you could do it in a private school, I don't know, but yeah. So with adolescents, you just talk about, healthy boundaries. Boundaries, guys. Really, it boils down to boundaries and self-esteem. When I say it's boundaries and self-esteem, I am not kidding you. It's boundaries and self-esteem. Those are the things that will make you bulletproof. If you've got good boundaries, you generally have good self-esteem. If you have good self-esteem, you've generally got good boundaries. Because you won't allow somebody to walk in and tell you who you are and believe them. Because you've got good boundaries and you've got good self-esteem. So I would say if you're going to talk to teenagers and younger about this, work on the mirror work. Work on boundaries, work on deal breakers, work on respect, self-respect, and out of that, other respect. So, that's the way to start teaching this stuff, is talking about boundaries and self-esteem. Okay. What is a normal or healthy way to respond to rejection? Well, okay, abusers don't like being rejected, so they come unglued. Anger. They get angry. They get really, really angry because they're unwilling to take a look at the hurt. Okay, because to them that's weak. So, a healthy way to respond to rejection is, ow, that hurt. Ow, okay, and we just were not meant to be, or this was just not meant to be. You don't personalize it to the point where you are, flagellating yourself, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. So what we tend to do is, when we've had abusive families, we've been so hyper criticized. Criticize. That's why we get the internal critic. Constantly telling us we're not good enough, this, that, and the other thing. So when we get rejected, we just go to town beating ourselves up rather than recognizing we are not always going to be everyone's cup of tea. We're not. I know for a fact I've got people out there that hate my ass to the core. Why? Because I'm pointing out all of this stuff. So, am I going to take that personally? Nope, not my problem. They can feel whatever haters gonna hate, So you just kind of gotta go, okay, this didn't work out. What can I do differently? Okay, there was nothing I could have done differently. Okay, let it go. So you don't allow it to eat you up inside. If there's something that needs to be worked on, great, work on it. If there's not, okay, well, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Okay, all right, bye. You just keep going. So we have a really hard time with criticism. We have a really hard time with rejection because we tend to beat ourselves up. So don't beat yourself up. Do see if there's something that could be worked on, and if not, then it's just you're not that person's cup of tea or that company's cup of tea or whatever. And then you keep going on with your life. So, and it is hard for us. It absolutely is, because we never had somebody model for us how to have a healthy, normal response to anything, really, when you think about it. So I would say also get with a good therapist. Get with a good therapist. Where is this coming from? Who taught you how to respond to rejection? Or who didn't teach you how to respond to rejection? And start working the books. CPTSD from Surviving and Thriving, Pete Walker, Inner Child Workbook, Kathleen Taylor. Those would be some good ones to start working on. Okay. Can you talk about the enabling parent? I have come to believe that allowing abuse is abuse. Yes! I have always focused on my healing from an ARC mom, but dad enabled and was emotionally unavailable. Funny you should mention that. I am going to be speaking about enablers next week. So just a little preview, yes, enabling is abuse. If somebody is turning a blind eye to abuse, it is absolutely abuse. They are no better than the abuser. So I want to talk about next week about the enabling parent and how that affects kids and how that affects, how we think about ourselves, how we think about the world, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, enabling is abuse. So next week we are going to be talking about the enabling parent and all of the mixed emotions we have about that. And you're absolutely correct. Yes, it is abuse. So we'll go more into depth about that and then how to process through those conflicting emotions. Because we will have, if they were the lesser abusive parent, we're going to feel a little bit kinder towards them, but yet as we grow older, we're like, oh, damn, they were not helpful, really. So yeah, we're going to talk about all of that. So you're not wrong. You're not crazy. Yay! So anyway, all right, I am losing my voice. So that's it for this week, guys. So next week we're going to be talking about the enabling parent. We're going to be talking about how to deal with those mixed, crazy emotions that we get around the parent that was maybe not as abusive, but still abusive. So that is it. All right, my loves, have a great week. Please drink plenty of water. Take good care of yourselves. Do the mirror work, and I will talk to you next Sunday. Bye.